Is that the moon?
Welcome to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm Fuck It's Cold in studio Sly Spook.
Spook.
Yes, I love your passion.
What do you think of the win over the Gold Coast? Is there anything to be angry about this week?
This could be the shortest rant of all time. Why don't we rename it to the Collingwood Happy Moment?
Oh, that would be great. So, what do you think? Are you happy with everything?
I was happy with the third quarter fade out.
But we're still winning. We're winning.
We're 13-2.
Would you take that?
I take it.
Yeah.
I took it. Do you know where I took it?
Where?
I took it down to the pub for a beer.
So what do you think? I mean, first half was pretty sublime. We've got to keep it in context. So Gold Coast, you don't know what you're going to get from week to week. I know they sometimes they play well, other times
They're vying for a top 8 spot, so they had something to play for.
yeah, I don't think that really matters with Gold Coast.
You don't think it? Do you think they realised it didn't turn up what they wanted to play for?
No, I mean, look.
Is it still in the mail?
I mean, it's a look.
Have they checked those Amazon boxes?
Or they crap because we pressured them and they just couldn't handle the movement because we did play well, or they just crap because they're crap and haven't done anything in the 10 years they've existed.
I think it looked like we did shell shock them to a certain extent. They were look, whatever system they thought they had that was going to counter us, we dismantled in the first 4 seconds. And I think they just didn't know what to do. There was just times where just how you saw forwards just running into space.
Yep.
It's un-Collingwood like. And the Gold Coast defenders were just standing around going, well, fuck, was it meant to be me? Was it meant to be you? I think they must have structured something that they thought was going to counter and we just obliterated it. But then we were pretty damn good for that first half. It was sublime.
Yeah, look, Gold Coast usually matches up well against us. The midfield dominance is really sublime, and how much of that is to do with number 35?
I think a lot.
So we saw against Adelaide, the times he was actually off,
yeah,
we struggled.
We talked about this before. I think that 9-minute period in the Adelaide game,
Yeah.
he was off and obviously chomping at the bit to get on. But the game dramatically changed. Now, I don't... because we don't do any research, I'm assuming that when Gold Coast kicked those 4 goals late in the third quarter, was he on? Was he off?
I don't know. I mean,
I think he was off for a little bit of it.
it's hard to judge on television anyway, so...
Well, it is, because you can't see everything.
I mean, the third quarter we came out, we actually were dominating at the start. I was going, good, we're not going to let this one slip. There's a 100-point victory here for the taking.
Yeah.
But then they kicked like the next 4, which was disappointing. And my problem is, look, we're winning great, is... in those periods where the opposition get the run on, they really get a run on. We don't touch it. We seem to be running, or like they seem to be running like it's a training drill. So I wish we had the capacity to sort of control the tempo a little bit and just take a bit of the pace off. And fine, we win by 13 goals, but go, what the fuck are you complaining about? Why are you always complaining? It's because I just don't want bad habits developing in this side. We've spoken about this for years, whether it was under McRae or Buckley. It's like when you have the chance to crush an opponent, fucking crush him. Don't let him back in. And actually develop that instinct within the side, within the list.
No, you're absolutely right. I love your passion. I floated the theory that I had the other day. It's probably bullshit. But it just happens too consistently. And I'm wondering whether they deliberately back off a little bit to sort of re-energise and load up whatever it is that you load up with to be a little bit more awesome in that last quarter, and then you run over sides, whether it's like you pull yourself back a little bit so you're not burning a lot of energy, you let the opposition sort of drain themselves a bit, and then you come back on fresh where they're finishing the quarter a little bit off their feet. If you can execute that every week, I mean, it's obviously a magical move, but it just seems to happen too consistently. I know, even watching the VFL game on the weekend, that they dominated in exactly mirror circumstances as to Gold Coast, and then they sort of tapered off in the third quarter as well before putting the boot back down and hitting the accelerator and running home in the last. It just seems to be too repetitive to be coincidental.
I mean, but you go to a Brisbane game, we had like a mid-quarter fade out in the second quarter, and then it lasted effectively 30 minutes.
We hadn't perfected the theory then.
No, look, it's fine against. No, sorry, it's not fine at all. But when you got the cushion of 14 goals to play with,
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
yeah, you can sub off Howe and shit like that. But against a better team, you don't want to be having that quarterfinal. And I know, like, we're coming back and winning, but hey, we did come back and win last year until we didn't, and those games happened to be the two finals. So this is why I would like to just develop that killer instinct. And if you go back to the 2011 team as a comparison, I mean, they weren't having third quarter fade outs. They were just crushing teams. I mean, they might have had like bad first halves and shit or whatever, but they crushed teams consistently. So I would like to see that happen more. And I think right at the moment, a lot of it does tie to Nick Dacos because he's just so creative around the ground. I was talking about with you before about like the way he changes angles. Like he'll be running this way and his opponent will be right behind him, and then he'll do a little handball that way, usually a look away one to a teammate that's going the other way, and it just totally changes and inverts the parameters of the playing field. So all the opponents are going one way, and then suddenly he's created play totally the other way. He's done a really short but incisive switch, which is fucking awesome.
He's also he's like some sort of chess master where he can see 15 moves ahead. And I think he's already anticipating his options when he's taking possession of the ball. If I go here, I'm thinking they'll probably end up more than likely going there, and vice versa. He has occasionally...
everyone does, yeah.
Like it's not 100%. But I think he's pretty accurate most of the time. It's like, he has those throwaway handballs over his shoulder. He knows that bloke's there.
Yeah.
He can fucking hit him, usually right on the proverbial, no dramas, unlike certain people who can have an opponent 1 metre away and handball over their head.
So you think you should play chess for money? Nobody will know why that's funny. Can't. And going back to last week, there was that play against Adelaide where it was in amongst 4 Adelaide players, and he just got such tremendous composure, and he knows. And Nathan Buckley spoke about this. He called him like a savant. He goes, he immediately knows how much time he has with the ball to do whatever he's going to do. And a few times when you see him even soccer kick, he really seems to weight how much power he puts behind the kick. Can't neglect to mention his brother Josh, who's been really, really good too. Doesn't get the plaudits that Nick does, and hopefully that doesn't actually impact him because, living in his brother's shadow this year probably can't be easy being the senior player or the older player and all that sort of stuff. But he's been really, really good this year. So hopefully those two would make the All-Australian squad.
You have to go close. I mean, one of them obviously will, but Josh should go close.
Well, the thing with Josh, though, he should have made it last year. Josh was the only genuine winger last year, but instead they did the typical bullshit of how we're just going to pick midfielders and put them in the other positions, which is just fucking wrong. So as the actual best wingman, he was by far the best winger. Really good game. I think the best game he's ever played. Claynor.
Yeah, no, he was really good. The intercepting was elite.
Yep.
He was reading that ball coming in beautifully time and time again, which was good because it didn't get left to Moore and... Murphy.
And Oleg Markov.
Yeah, no, it's I think he's almost been building towards that. He's had patches of that type of brilliance, but then he sort of fades out of a game. But this was
that's what I want to say. I mean, he provided a lot of counter attack. Oleg Markov's another one who, I mean, Richmond they'd be playing him right now.
Oh, definitely.
And Gold Coast would have to be looking at him going. I mean, Gold Coast has a different sort of game style.
They tried to fool us by having his doppelganger
the goal umpire.
As the goal umpire. I think at times we were almost going to kick it to him.
Jeremy Howe is sort of just, I'm really surprised I got this one wrong, but like I thought he'd struggle to come back, but he's just playing like he hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah, I guess with the injury, it didn't stop him from doing any of the running and all that sort of stuff. So I guess you can maintain a level of fitness even though you aren't going out there and smacking your arm into something every week. So he must have had a reasonable amount of a high level of match conditioning, even though he didn't have match conditioning coming in to be selected. Because during the press conference, Fly was talking about, it's just managing his time and all that sort of thing. Well, you could do that back in the VFL. You don't have to bring him into the seniors and throw him to the Wolves. But it's obviously, I think, what they think he actually will benefit more from.
Look, for me, it's more, if you do certain injuries, fine, you run around. If you're a senior player, you've got 10 years of pre-seasons behind you and all that sort of stuff, so you can tend to slip in. But the thing that surprised me is his touch is really good. He's taken some really good marks. He's very sure with his handling of the ball, so it's great. Down the other end, Elliott kicks 5 goals. Hill looks dangerous. McCreary's bouncing around. And there's a guy named Hoskin Elliott who, I don't know, should we just give him a Brownlow? Because every time I read about this guy, I think, I'm not seeing this guy that people are talking about.
I mean, we've spoken about it several times, but he frustrates me because he's capable of more. It's clearly whatever his role is, he's meeting the demands of it to be selected week in, week out. But when it comes time to Goey and Sidey coming back in, you would think he'd be the obvious target for the one that has to make way. I think Markov's doing more at the moment and doing a similar role and doing it better.
Yeah.
Look, Hoskin bobs up and denies second gamers the opportunity to have a goal. In games, he's good in that respect. He has his little cameo and kicks a goal. I don't think it's enough, though, for a player of his age and experience. Yeah, you go back to that 18 season. What did he kick? 40-odd goals or something that year? Whatever clicked brilliantly that year, but he's just never been able to replicate it. No. If anything, he's diminishing in terms of his returns. But whatever he's doing right in the eyes of the coaching panel, I guess.
I look at that role that he's allegedly playing, and I think, I said it last week, I'd try Markov in that role. And the other one, I should mention that I'd try in that role is Howe. Because I think Frampton shows that you got to play him. He showed he needs to be in the side. I actually found it interesting that they actually rotated all three tools through the ruck. Cox, Cameron and Frampton, they all went through the ruck. So I remember at the start of the game watching it, like when I was saying to the person I was watching it with, well, speculating about who's going to do the relief ruck. Surely it won't be Frampton coming out of the fence, but he did that at times. So if you got the luxury of playing Frampton down back, Howe could sort of play that roving, lead up forward, come down back, provide a chop out. He's a better mark than Hoskin Elliott. He's got a lot more intensity than Hoskin Elliott, so he's also not an alternative, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that. I think he's the perfect swingman too. You can, at the moment with his form, you can put him anywhere and he'll have a return. Yeah. He was dropped back in defence and took a couple of marks. He went up, kicked a couple of goals. I mean, what more could you want from him?
So they played the three tools as ruckman. Surely they're not going to keep doing that.
It doesn't appear to be sustainable.
So who's the one that's going to miss out? Is it Cox?
You would think probably. I think probably. And I don't like saying that. I like Cox. Is that something you're allowed to say these days?
Yeah.
I think there's a begrudging, I think, loyalty towards Coxie because he's been around forever. He's likeable, and you want to see him hold his spot and taste success. If you had to sacrifice one of the three based on love, you wouldn't pick Coxie. You'd put one of the other two down if you were guaranteed a flag, which we know in our universe doesn't happen. But realistically, you probably think if you wanted to mount a challenge and be very successful, he'd almost have to be the one that would go.
I think he'll be the sacrificial one. Given the role he's playing predominantly forward, McStay comes in, displaces him.
Oh, that's true.
So I think it's a shame that they've never tried to just give Cox like an extended run in the ruck, like that GWS game where he smashed it. So if McStay comes in, it seems they really think, oh no, this guy's going to come in, we've paid him. And according to what I'm reading and hearing, I mean, we've effectively traded for the next Wayne Carey. Never saw it at Brisbane, but
we haven't seen him at Collingwood yet either.
And this is how good he is, though. So if they're determined to bring him in and he's going to play that forward role, then I think Cox, unfortunately, is the one I wouldn't. Because the other thing I like about Cox compared to the other two is Cox plays angry. The other two don't. The other two are pretty laid back. And I like the anger with Cox. I like the way he struts up to people. He gets in their face and stuff like that. I like the cockiness that he has. It just sort of gives the team a bit of swagger, which I think is missing. Let me ask you something. Of the players that we've gotten rid of, just to give me a yes or no, would these guys get a game in our side now? Jaden Stevenson?
No.
Adam Shalor?
Oh, I think, yeah, but he would, yeah.
Yeah. Ollie Henry? Remember, he wasn't getting a game last year anyway, but...
Yeah, he kicked 20 goals for the Cats.
Yeah.
Look, I as much as I hate him, I love watching him play still. You give a look into the Cats games, obviously, every now and then because they seem to get all the good time slots. But he runs around with some swagger at the Cats, and I think that's what we would have got, and he would have had a position in that forward line.
Oh, look, I agree. I think if you look at Hill's got a lot of X factor that McCreary and Ginnivan weren't quite showing to the same level. And I think Ollie Henry has that also, and he would have just gotten better. Brodie Grundy.
No.
No, I mean, I agree with all your assessments there, but I was just curious. So going forward, you have the Goey coming back next week. In his press conference, McRae said that Sidey's still a couple of weeks away, and McStay is another...
They're not sure. Apparently when they said, if anyone can see him, can they ask him when he thinks he might play a game again?
Yeah. Well...
Did you know he's going on Crime Stoppers this week? Have you seen this man? Yeah, allegedly he's a footballer.
Yeah, well, look...
No, I mean, you're harsh on him. Well, he was meant to play a couple of minutes this week in the VFL and got a runny nose?
Yeah,
illness or something? I mean, what
know.
the fuck is going on there, seriously?
I don't know.
Do you know of another club, and we've ranted about this before, that's had so many fucking finger injuries? Ever?
No.
And not just a finger injury goes, oh, that hurts, it'll be alright by next week if I put a Band-Aid on it. You're out for fucking months with a finger injury.
Yep.
Not that we're bitter about it.
No, apparently not.
Ow!
Okay, so McStay is still a couple of weeks away. So the Goey comes in next week. Who's out?
That's a good question, isn't it?
And
you would think, well, the easy sacrificial one, we're not talking positions here, is Harrison.
Yeah, but that means one of the existing 22 is going to be sub. And that's likely to be someone like McCreary again.
Yeah, possibly, or maybe Howe, because he's still talking about managing his time. Who we got this week? The Dogs? I don't think you're going to have that freedom to pick anyone because you're 40 goals up, like they did with Howe. You've got to probably tactically play this one, but yeah, probably not Howe then.
And Nick Dacos, would he stay midfield with the Goey coming back? Or the
I think that they would complement each other beautifully. I don't think you've got to get those two to develop some synergy now before finals. I think Nick does his best work in the guts, and the Goey's doing them in the guts. You're seeing some beautiful little tack work and Nick running through packs and stuff. The Goey's capable of that. I think he'll also be quite good on a little bit more on the outside. Yep. Nick, I think, as Fly's indicated, he looks like your pure inside mid. I think that's skills. You just got to start developing it now. At the detriment a little bit, but just get those two playing beautifully together before finals.
Yeah, I think the best midfielders are made up of players that complement each other. You go to somewhere like Carlton at the moment, they've just got all these sort of inside mids, and they don't really have anyone complementing anyone else. But you go, look at the best midfielders, go to Brisbane in the early 2000s, you had Voss, Ackermanis, Black, Lappin. They're all sort of different players. And even if you look at us at 210, Swan, Ball, Pendle, Stacey, and all the other guys who played there, again, they all complemented one another. I think with Dacos, with his silkiness, with the Goey being a ball, Adams and Mitchell, who'll just sort of, throw themselves on the ball like it's a grenade, you got actually a really good synergy happening there. And the thing I like too, if you go back to last week with Ben Keys trying to tag Dacos, as a midfielder, he just couldn't do it because Dacos just kept running and running. As a halfback, they've sort of taken him out of the game at times and they're trying to make him accountable. As a mid, it's just too hard to do. And it reminds me of years ago, I can't remember, whoever was tagging at Richmond, they asked him, who's harder to tag, Pendlebury or Swan? And he goes, Swan, easy. He goes, you look down for a minute, you look up and Swan's already running. He runs just so much. And I think that's Nick Dacos. He just keeps running. And he keeps putting himself in positions to win the ball, to win it back and all that sort of stuff. So I think as a mid, he's so much more dangerous.
Oh, definitely.
Just out of curiosity, the Elliott goal, do you like that as a goal of the year contender?
Oh, fucking oath, it should be. And who's the bloke who kicked the...
Dan Houston.
Yeah, Houston. They're all sitting there on Twitter last night pumping that up as the number one best goal that you've ever seen. The day. Look, it's a wet ball, poor conditions. It's a fucking set shot.
Hang on, stop. Let's stop for a second. Is it a wet ball? Because they swapped the ball at pretty much any time it's kicked. So we don't even know if that one was wet. It could have been a fresh one that just come out of the pack.
A moist ball. Yes. Slightly humid ball.
So I don't think it was it's not like going back in the 80s where they played with one football and it got heavy and waterlogged as the game went on. I mean, the moment someone kicks a point that goes in the crowd, they just grab another one out of a bag and then just go for it. So I don't know how wet that ball is. It's a really good...
Still had plastic on it.
Well, yeah, it's a really good fallacy that Kane Corns is selling. I mean, I saw the tweet from Kane Corns going, that is goal of the year. And I was thinking, what's he talking about? And then it's it's the Houston one. Okay, it was a good kick. You didn't make this fuss when fucking Jamie Elliott kicked one against Essendon last year from 50 from the boundary. But it's Port Adelaide. Yeah. So... Hey.
No, I think when you look at he was under pressure. Like the goal, like that ball was miles ahead of him.
Yeah.
He's chased it after the Gold Coast guy's gone down. He's had presence of mind at that point, not knowing who's behind or anything, to push the ball back into play. He's run around the outside of the goalpost, legitimately unlike certain Richmond players, and intercepted that ball. Had to look up and goes, "Oh fuck, it's me," and kicked it through. I think across that whole moment, that was all sublime work. It was brilliant. And I think, it deserves to be recognised. But the fucking problem is the goal of the year is a popularity vote based on a fucking number of people who phone in. The anti-Collingwood bias will ensure that one is fucking knocked down the pegging order.
Well, it's interesting because I saw on Footy Classified they were talking about that goal. They asked Matthew Lloyd, he downplayed, he goes, yeah, it was good, but, that was it. And then they started comparing it to the Higgins goal, the Richmond one. And they asked Steve Johnson, and Steve Johnson goes, oh, no, the Higgins one's better. But he goes, but it was actually a throw. He goes, it was a throw. And then fucking Damien Barrett, who I've started sort of like, my respect's gone up a little bit, he goes, I'm paraphrasing, but he says something like, yeah, it was a throw, but I'm glad the umpires didn't pay it. And it's like, okay, so theatre's determining the decisions now, not the actual rules. So you can just fucking... And I was thinking, like, that really... illustrates the psychology of journalism. It's not what's actually legit, it's what's going to fucking sell sensationalism. So that really pissed me off. It's like, it's a throw, but it was fine because, it was a spectacular goal. It pisses me off no end whenever they use fear to justify why decisions aren't paid. It's the stupidest fucking thing. And anyone who sells that is a fucking moron. Sorry, but I have to fucking do that. VFL, did you watch that?
No, but before we go to this, I want to backtrack and flag someone that I was wondering whether you were going to get to. Because you were talking about hard running and presenting and all those sorts of things earlier. And not one mention of Johnny Noble this week.
Oh, sorry, I meant to mention him, but it was ignoble of me. No, actually I did. I just moved past him. Yeah, Noble was great this week.
I think he was phenomenally good. I think the thing that I love about him, and I know he's got flaws and all that sort of stuff, he just never stops trying.
No.
And that's an admirable, incredibly brilliant trait to have. He was at my son's footy club a couple of weeks back.
Did you bring him home with you?
I took him home and put him on my shelf. Look, you don't hear much from players down that end of the food chain. Someone who's probably battling week in and week out for their position. And he spoke a little bit about that, and he talked about that everything that as part of his career has been like he could have just fucking quit at any point.
Yeah.
But that thing that drives you, the thing that makes you want to be successful is paramount in his mind. And he talked simple things to the kids about, look, his advice for being out there is, it was just always back yourself and believe in yourself. And I think that really comes across in his game a lot of the time. There's things that he's pulling off at the moment he's got no right to do, but he's just really good. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Okay, no, I noticed
I know because you bagged the fuck out of him endlessly.
No, I noticed like when he kicks a goal that they play Journeys Don't Stop Believing.
No, look, I think he's worthy of some of the plaudits he's getting at the moment. Plaudits? Dear Plaudits, won't you come out and play? And good luck to him. I think that game on the weekend was superb.
Pivotal question though.
Oh, now you want to change the subject?
Would he take 13 and 2?
Oh yeah, he would. He said that. I asked him that because like everyone else was asking him questions about do you wear Crocs and stuff like that, and I said, if we were 13 and 2, would you take it? He goes, mate, I'd take it. I'd take it.
Okay, VFL smashed Frankston Dolphins.
I watched about that game. It was the other way around. Those Dolphins were smashing us. The sniping pricks.
I'm going to get that. So the Ginnivan thing, which we'll show now over where, us talking. What do you think of this footage? They can't see you looking back. They're just looking at the footage now.
I always like to look back.
So he's collected high. He's collected legitimately high. He hasn't ducked or anything. And then they've actually gone in to fucking rough him up.
Yeah, I think, and this is what we were talking about. Like, he's clearly a fucking target. Especially at the VFL level, where some little mongoose wants to make a name for himself or make himself think he's going to walk taller because he collected someone who's achieved something on the footy field. I think it's pretty putrid the way he gets treated. And that was... He ended up with a free, I think, from that one.
No, you already had it, but it was a 50, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 50 that someone else took it. But that's the sort of targeting that he's copping week in and week out. And you go, well, his fall from grace has been pretty spectacular this year. It has to be due to shit like this.
Of course it is.
How much is that fucking with that poor kid's mind?
Yeah, of course it is. So this is entirely AFL's fault. And if I was Ginnivan and my career didn't pan out for whatever reason, I would be going, well, I'm coming back and suing the fucking AFL because you had a duty of care to protect me. You didn't. And you've actually enabled people to attack me with impunity because you are not backing me up because you're trying to sell this bullshit that I'm ducking every fucking single time I get hit high. And I actually am disappointed in the club at never sort of making a bit more noise about this. I mean, McRae made a little bit of noise last year going, well, you need to protect him, well, we will. And I said in the past, then I would have just fucking sent the players that if anyone hit him high, I would have just said, look, we're going to sacrifice the goal, just fucking run up and smash whoever's done it. And then put it back on the AFL going, we have to do that because you didn't.
There was a passage of play with Zach Butters on the weekend. He ran between two guys.
Yeah.
And just as he's about to get tackled, he's fucking dropped the knee, come in and drawn the high thing. Commentary was just fucking pulling themselves about, he brings pressure to every contest. That's what he does. They're full of praise for everyone else. Yeah. And yet this guy was hung, drawn and quartered on a fucking weekly basis.
Oh, well, that was Hudson and fucking Brian Taylor were the primary... the fucking primary instigators and perpetrators of that. They kept fucking doing it. And like, I actually like Nathan Buckley in the commentary because he'll stand up for Collingwood. Because I remember bloody Hudson was going on about fucking Ginnivan, and then Buckley just goes, well, what about Selwood? How often have you called him? And it's very selective.
Oh, you don't shit in your own backyard.
Oh, well, it's piss league. And it really does shit me. And like I said, I wish the club had made a bit more noise. And I think this year, like you said, his fall from grace has been spectacular. And who knows whether he'll bounce back. And I know there'll be some really weak pricks on Twitter going, oh, he's not tough enough if you can't deal with it and all that sort of shit.
It's more than that.
You go to work every week and get your head caved in and not get rewarded for fucking being attacked. And let's see how you fucking go over the space of 4 weeks, let alone 4 months. So it's really piss weak. And the AFL also should fucking be putting out a memo and just saying that sort of behaviour is unacceptable. They should find, I don't know what Frankston has in their coffers, but they should find Frankston and just fucking put him out of business. Or they should do something so...
I don't think you're allowed to fine $3.50.
Well, they should actually make a statement there. They should just go, well, you're a VFL club. I don't know what your resources are, but we're funding you $15,000 for that. You go work out how to pay it. Don't fucking behave like that.
Occasionally you get the good point on Twitter, and there was a few that I read really that said basically that some of these fucking fledgling outer suburb clubs really need to be fucked off out of the VFL competition and let it go back to the pure second tier of clubs, because there are a few of these clubs that are a bit on the feral side.
Yeah. Oh, look, the ridiculous thing, this is AFL's fault too. Years and years ago, or decades ago, you encouraged the AFL clubs to get rid of their reserves and adopt VFA clubs. And then they've all moved back away from that model and started implementing their own reserves. So it just shows that the fucking AFL was a great exercise in redundancy to make clubs affiliate with VFL clubs, or VFA clubs. But now they've all regressed. So why the fuck are you still playing with clubs like Frankston and shit like that? I don't fucking know. Just get rid of this mixed competition and just give everyone their VFL side back. And don't give me this shit about, some clubs can't afford it. Because we know fucking some clubs like St Kilda and all that, they're getting millions from the AFL to remain in the competition. So, fuck, there's money there. Ash Johnson, this footage. Wins the ball on the boundary. Obviously gets shit from the Frankston Ferals. Shows them the ball. And then runs and tries to bounce it, fucks up the bounce, picks it back up, and then I don't know what his next plan was, but then he gets tackled.
He got dacked as well.
And he got dacked, which was it's a fucking...
I'm pretty certain I saw a banana peel there as well. He's copped it all. It was an anvil on its way down to get him. No, I thought that was pretty weak. Was he showing the ball to the player on the ground? Or was
no, I thought he was showing... I reckon he copped shit from the Frankston players, and he went... No, the Frankston fans. I think he just showed to him, like, I'm still got it, still in, or whatever. That's what I thought he was doing.
Okay, because I interpreted that he showed it to the bloke on the ground. Showing it to the bloke on the ground is a different thing to the crowd. Like, I don't mind a little bit of lip back to the crowd. Yeah, but Jesus, you picked the worst fucking time to make some sort of point around that. But I thought he was showing... If he shown it back to the player, I thought that was pretty shit, because that bloke got up and fucking run him down. And that's Ash Johnson to it. So that's that laconic thing. There's no sense of... He obviously thought, I've got fucking weak here. I've gone for the odd bounce.
Well, he fucked up the bounce.
He was whistling Sweet Georgia Brown like he was a globetrotter at that point. I think you couldn't have been embarrassed any more than that. And the thing is, I don't think that footage would have made its way back to Fly's eyes, and there'd be fucking praise waiting for him. He'd be torn apart. That's not any sort of value that I think that this side is trying to live at the moment. I thought the action was pretty piss weak.
Well, he then shared it on his Instagram story with some laughy faces.
Did he?
Yeah.
On his?
Yeah.
Why would you?
Well, I was going to ask you this. So do you think that's a way of him and the club? So I don't know if you remember, like a few weeks ago, fucking Maynard did this really shit kick out, cost them a goal, and then him and Mark Off were laughing, and you said at the time, well, maybe that's their way of handling it, just to sort of de-escalate it. So I was just wondering, do you think maybe he's doing that to totally de-escalate the situation?
I think you're opening yourself up to ridicule.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
I think it's one thing to have a laugh about fucking something up on the field, because your next thing is what you can do to remedy that. But in a VFL game that you've completely been dacked and humiliated to a point, then to post it later on Instagram, you're just opening yourself up as a fucking major target.
I think he just went to the bench and posted it.
Maybe he was on the ground and he had the phone there as well.
I think the VFL coach Josh Fraser just said, mate, just maybe show the ball to yourself and keep it in sight.
Maybe he was honouring pants in his own way, because they did that up at the Gold Coast. Do you think? Is that a tenuous link? That's
a tenuous link. Ruth McInnes kicked 6. Finley McRae really monster. Finley McRae looks awesome at VFL level. It would have been great, I think, if De Goey was out. Well, they gave him that 3 weeks in the seniors, because they got to look at some of these guys, and they have not had a prolonged look at any of them. So if you get like an injury in fucking week 1 of the finals, and it's like, what do we do now? Now maybe they can just reshuffle and that'll be it. But fuck, I would have liked to have known what we had up our sleeve, and I don't think they're going to get time to do it now.
No, well, Fly also made the statement, I think, in the pre-game presser. Someone asked about, you going to be resting anyone? He said he has no plans whatsoever to rest anyone. He's clearly trying to solidify a side to take it in the finals, which is a bit of a gamble, because, as you said, if there are injuries, you're exposed. But, they are playing the similar style in the VFL that, it's like when Mick was coaching back in the day. They were drilled well enough that when someone went down, someone came in and did fill that void quite comfortably. I think they're hedging their bets on the ability to do that, but at the same time, I don't think they want any injuries. They want to have a solid side to come in to the tail end of the season and go all the way
through.
So
my worry there, the alternatives though, compared to when Mick was there, you had a few players that had a bit more experience, whereas now they're really fledgling players.
You really do have your top end sitting there.
Nathan Kruger pretty much concussed himself flying for mark of the century.
Yeah, I find him, as much as I'm a fan of his intent, it's just too much. He throws himself too hard into these contests, and he really is almost inviting that sort of that injury, because he went up for that mark and then came back and smacked himself out as well. Look, I think he needs to take a sort of just a bit of a chill pill and slow down.
Just maybe take a lesson from Oscar Elliott.
Yeah, just watch the game from 20 metres away. You never get injured over there, Hoskins says. He goes, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah.
In the midst of it all, what are you thinking?
He's going, well, you can't mistake my passion. Any final thoughts about any of this before we go to the fantastic preview against the Dogs?
No, look, there's absolutely fucking nothing you can really complain about this week. It was a very clinical performance.
So we played the Dogs this week. Saw the end of their game against Fremantle. They ran over the top of Fremantle. Everyone looked good. The thing with Bulldogs is they're really spasmodic. So you just sort of never know what you're going to get. What are your thoughts? We're going to smash them, or... Because we're winning now, do you realise that? We're winning.
Yeah, you take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you take that.
I'd take that because I admire your passion.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of players that they've got that are really good. Like that Jamara Ugo-Hagen's really taken some steps this year. He's got a beautiful leap, and he what's that thing he does when he gets up in the air and he holds the ball? He marks it. That's a handy trade. You think we might invest in that? Yeah.
Well, there's something to go for the mark first.
But they are patchy. I think that's the thing. They coming off a bye this week as well?
No, they played Fremantle.
I know, that's the gag I was trying to get towards. You can't even use that as an excuse anymore. So they beat Fremantle convincingly in the end.
No, Fremantle got in front, but then Dogs just sort of overran them, and that went like 4 or 5 goals. Yeah.
Was it a taxing game? I didn't really watch that.
It was close. It went back and forth until the last quarter. And like, a friend and I were watching it and just going, oh, well, this is taxing for the Dogs. And then Fremantle got in front, and then the Dogs just sort of kicked the next 5. And that was it. Yeah. So, Treloar played a pretty good game from what I saw, from the bits I saw. Tim English has turned into one of the best ruckmen in the league. That Norton, he looks good. Obviously, you can't fault Bont. Teddy Whitten, he adds a lot to that side. Jimmy Edmonds, Simon Templeton, all these great players.
Kelvin Templeton.
Yeah, Kelvin Templeton. I can't remember.
Look, it's going to be another good test, I think.
And Colonial or Etihad or Marvel.
That's the one fucking bit I don't like. I don't like that ground.
I don't like it.
I think they know I don't like the ground either.
No one likes it.
Even the players don't like it. I think they're actually boycotting it.
Well, actually, like when Damien Hardwick was losing his shit last year, we was talking about like...
You narrow that moment down?
But he was talking about Marvel. He goes, we don't like it. He goes, we don't like it. And then he got pilloried for speaking the truth. But it's a shithole. It really is.
It's a soulless stadium.
I mean, and Marvel... Disney owns Marvel, right?
Well, that explains everything.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, so technically...
Is Kathleen Kennedy turning up to the game?
It's owned by Disney, technically.
Or has she been sacked this week?
No, I think she's on the outs suddenly.
I probably think, in my heart of hearts, we'll get done by 10 goals.
Yep.
But if we give it a red-hot crack, we could be a chance. Is that enough of having it both ways? We should win, surely. We should win. I think it'll be a battle, but we should win.
I'd like to win one of these games against...
At Marvel.
Like what we did against Carlton, where we just sort of smashed them, and then that was it. And the Carlton one, this one we didn't beat them by 28 goals, but at least it stayed in that range of like 5 goals. There was no fucking heart stopping there was no comebacks or anything like the wrestle. It wasn't like that bloody West Coast game where they got within the kick of us. So I just hope we win by 4 or 5 goals. I think with the goalie there, I really hope that they played the goalie and Nick Dacos in the midfield. Yep. There's a rumour that Mychek's got a hemi, but that's just rumours on the net at the moment.
I haven't heard that one. Maynard would have to be in doubt. He was pretty banged up at the end of the game.
Yeah,
How the fuck, though, did they just leave him on?
Well,
he had broken ribs, he had the shoulder came out of its socket 12 times,
well,
he dislocated his kneecap there.
They subbed Howe off, and then the next 5 minutes they had like 3 guys sort of get banged up.
Maynard was like the guy in Platoon, just trying to run to the chopper, and he just got cut up. He was on his knees at one point.
Yeah.
That was a strange decision, but they reckon that he carries on as a bit of a whinger and stuff. Did he say that?
No.
Mathai? No, he said he talked about it. He seemed to have had that shoulder issue for a while. He goes, sometimes it just sort of gets on top of him a bit, which is probably the reaction. But I thought he looked fucked enough that he was coming off, and he stayed out there and he got back into the swing of things, but he was banged around a fair bit.
Yeah.
And coming off the previous week where he was banged around a fair bit, he'd have to be a chance, surely, to probably not play this week.
I think he'll play. I mean, from what I heard was McRae spoke to him and said to him, I'm still going to play you this week. What do you think? And Maynard
said, which part? Which part are you playing?
No, he said, I'll take that. Final thoughts?
Fly said to me, I love your passion.
Final thoughts?
Keep up this winning feeling, Collingwood.
We won. Well done.
There's not a lot to say, really. It's
but we managed 40 minutes of it, so...
It's easy to be happy when you're happy.
I haven't said it for age. Subscribe, comment, like...
Seen any good films lately? We've got to fill some time in.
Share us with your...
Share
yeah.
with your women. Share us with your women.
Okay, on that note, later.
Catch.